Imagine losing the love of your life just 3 months after your wedding. Now imagine that the pain of that loss isn't enough. Your own society strips away your colors, your dreams, your identity, and even your right to smile. What if a pair of simple glass bangles could become the symbol of freedom or lifelong imprisonment? This is not just the story of one widow. It is the story of countless women whose lives are dictated by traditions they never chose. Today on Logic and Lab, we uncover the emotional journey behind WANGAAN, a story about grief, hope, discrimination, and the courage to live again. In many South Asian communities, bangles are much more than jewelry. They represent love, marriage, celebration, and a woman's place in society. But what happens when those bangles are taken away? What happens when a widow is expected to bury not only her husband, but also her own future? WANGAAN explores these painful questions through a deeply emotional story that challenges traditions. The story opens in a peaceful rural village where a traveling bangle seller announces his arrival. Young girls happily gather around his colorful collection, laughing as they choose their favorite bangles. Among them is Gutty, full of excitement and youthful energy. Standing quietly beside her is Gutty's sister-in-law, a young widow dressed in plain clothes, her wrists completely bare. When Gutty encourages her to wear bangles too, she gently refuses. The vendor soon learns the heartbreaking truth. She lost her husband only 3 months after marriage. According to social expectations, colorful bangles are no longer considered suitable for her. The seller silently offers a prayer that no young woman should ever become a widow so early in life. While celebrating humanity, back home, Gutty questions the painful rules forced upon her sister-in-law. She asks a simple but powerful question. If your husband died, how is that your fault? The widow quietly replies that all her dreams died with him. Gutty refuses to accept that answer. She reminds her that life should never end simply because tragedy enters it. Soon Gutty herself will be married, leaving the widow completely alone inside a house filled with painful memories. Yet the widow believes loneliness has become her destiny. The bangle seller returns to the village again. Everyone already wears colorful bangles. Everyone except one woman. Looking toward the widow, he gently says, "But her wrists are still empty." He offers her a beautiful pair of green bangles. She politely refuses, not because she dislikes them, but because society has convinced her she no longer deserves beauty. Unlike everyone else, the vendor doesn't see a widow. He sees a human being whose happiness has been stolen. As wedding gifts arrive for Gutty, she lovingly tries to dress up her sister-in-law. For a brief moment, it feels as though happiness might return. Then everything changes. The mother-in-law enters in anger. She accuses the widow of trying to decorate herself for another man. She blames her for her son's death and demands that she live only in sorrow. This heartbreaking scene reveals how grief is often turned into punishment. Instead of receiving compassion, the widow is treated as though she committed a crime. The emotional wounds created by discrimination become deeper than the original loss itself. That night, both women sit beneath the open sky. Looking at the moon, the widow quietly says something unforgettable. The moon is alone, but it isn't lonely. With those few words, she reminds us that being alone is not always painful. True loneliness begins when society refuses to see your humanity. Gutty encourages her once again. Life continues after tragedy. Healing is not betrayal. Moving forward does not mean forgetting the past. The following day, the bangle seller returns with an unusual offer. "Bring me your broken bangles, and I'll replace them with new ones." It sounds like ordinary business, but it isn't. Broken bangles become a symbol of broken hearts. New bangles represent hope. The seller quietly admits he isn't searching for profit. He's searching for someone. Someone whose broken spirit deserves another chance. When the widow brings him water, he notices something deeper than her empty wrists. Her eyes have also become empty, eyes that no longer carry dreams. This simple observation becomes one of the film's most emotional moments. The traveling vendor is far more than a merchant. He represents empathy, second chances, and the possibility that love can return even after unimaginable pain. The broken bangles symbolize lives shattered by tragedy. The new bangles symbolize healing. The greatest prison in the story isn't widowhood. It is the social stigma that convinces women they no longer deserve joy. After days of silent admiration, the bangle seller finally gathers the courage to express what has been growing in his heart. He tells the young widow that he doesn't see her as someone defined by tragedy. He sees a kind, compassionate woman who deserves another chance at happiness. Before leaving, he gently places a pair of green bangles in her hands. He says that if she chooses to wear them the next time they meet, he will understand that she has accepted his proposal and is willing to begin a new life with him. For the first time since her husband's death, hope quietly returns to her heart. The following morning, she arrives wearing the green bangles. Without speaking a single word, she accepts his proposal. It is a beautiful moment, two broken hearts believing they have found a future together. Their happiness doesn't remain hidden for long. The villagers notice the green bangles and begin spreading rumors throughout the community. When the young widow returns home, her mother-in-law humiliates and verbally abuses her in front of others. Instead of celebrating the possibility of her rebuilding her life, she is treated as though she has brought shame upon the family. The mother-in-law even threatens that if Gutty's wedding had not already been delayed, she would have publicly exposed the relationship even sooner. That night, the widow secretly meets the bangle seller one last time. With tears in her eyes, she tells him that he deserves a life free from endless judgment. She says she cannot marry him, not because she doesn't love him, but because society refuses to accept a widow's second marriage. She asks him to forget her and move on. Heartbroken, they part ways. When she returns home, her mother-in-law catches her outside. The young widow honestly explains that she only went to end the relationship forever and promises never to meet him again. The next morning, everything appears to change. Her mother-in-law suddenly behaves with warmth and compassion. She speaks gently, accepts the idea of her remarriage, and even offers her sweets as a sign of blessing. Believing that love has finally replaced hatred, the young widow accepts the sweet without suspicion. After taking a bite, she quietly asks why it tastes unusually bitter. Within moments, tragedy unfolds. The sweet had been poisoned. As her strength fades, the bangle seller rushes toward her. He holds her in his arms during her final moments, powerless to save the woman he dreamed of marrying. Unable to bear the unbearable loss, he too collapses. The story ends with two innocent lives destroyed, not by love, but by hatred, prejudice, and the cruelty of social discrimination. The heartbreaking ending reminds us that the real villain is not fate. It is a society that chooses tradition over compassion and honor over humanity. The poisoned sweet represents hatred hidden behind a mask of acceptance. The green bangles symbolize hope, second chances, and the simple human right to love again. In the end, neither grief nor death destroys these two people. Intolerance does. WANGAAN is far more than a tragic love story. It is a powerful criticism of the discrimination faced by widows and of the social pressures that deny people the chance to rebuild their lives. The film asks a difficult question. If love, dignity, and a second chance harm no one, why should society stand in the way? Real honor is not found in preserving harmful traditions. Real honor is found in choosing empathy over prejudice, kindness over judgment, and life over hatred. Until widows are seen first as human beings rather than symbols of loss, stories like this will continue to reflect painful realities. This isn't just the ending of a film. For many women around the world, it reflects a struggle that still exists today. If this story moved you, share it with someone who believes compassion should always come before judgment. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Do you think traditions should evolve with time, or should they remain unchanged? Subscribe to Logic and Lab, where every story uncovers a deeper truth behind society, humanity, and the choices that shape our lives. Until next time, stay curious, stay compassionate, and keep questioning the world around you.